Emeka, a poor SS1 student, suddenly became the richest boy in his school. New clothes, flashy phones, and the respect of everyone around him. Yet, just months earlier, he could barely afford hostel provisions. What could be the reason behind his sudden and quick wealth? Stay tuned and watch how the truth unfolds. The sun was just rising over the small, rusty rooftops of Abba when Emeka's mother placed a steaming cup of pop in front of him. Their wooden table was old and shaky, the kind that groaned under the slightest weight. The smell of fried akara filled their little kitchen, but it was not enough to hide the sadness in her eyes. "My son," she began softly, sitting opposite him, "you are going to one of the best schools in the state. We are poor, but we have given you the only wealth we can, good upbringing. Please don't forget it." Emeka nodded, sipping his pop slowly. He could see the cracks on the mud walls, the patched curtains dancing with the morning breeze. His father, a thin man with calloused hands from years of pushing a wheelbarrow at the market, cleared his throat. "Emeka, in that hostel, you will see children from rich families. Some will have shoes worth more than everything in this house. Some will have plenty of money to spend. Don't let that make you feel small. Focus on your books." "Yes, Papa," Emeka replied, though his heart was already imagining the kind of rich boys he would meet. His mother leaned closer. "Avoid bad friends. If you start following them, we may not even know until it is too late. Remember where you are coming from." They ate in silence for a while. When it was time to go, Emeka's mother handed him a small bag with his neatly ironed school uniforms, a few exercise books, and 2 packs of biscuits for the journey. His father gave him a small envelope with just 500 NR for pocket money. "It is not much," his father said, his voice tight with shame, "but manage it. We believe you will make us proud." Emeka smiled faintly. "I will, Papa." As he boarded the old bus to St. Luke's Secondary School, he looked back at his parents waving. They looked tired, hopeful, and unaware that this journey would change all their lives, forever. The bus rumbled into the compound of St. Luke's Secondary School, its tires crunching over the gravel. Emeka leaned against the window, eyes wide. The school was massive, tall classroom blocks painted cream and blue, a well-kept football field, and students moving about in crisp uniforms. The hostel was even more impressive than he imagined. It was a long building with neat rows of windows, and at the entrance stood a senior boy wearing designer sneakers and holding a brand new iPhone. Emeka clutched his small bag tighter, suddenly aware of his worn-out sandals and faded school bag. Inside the hostel, boys were unpacking boxes filled with snacks, crates of drinks, and the latest gadgets. Emeka found a corner bunk where a thin mattress was already waiting for him. The boy on the next bunk, Jada, unwrapped a brand new PlayStation controller. "You brought only that small bag?" Jada asked, glancing at Emeka's modest belongings. "Yes," Emeka replied shyly. Jada chuckled. "You must be new. Don't worry, you'll learn how things work here." As the evening came, Emeka noticed something strange. The rich boys moved freely around the hostel. They talked to the prefects like equals, and when a teacher came in to check on them, he smiled warmly and even joked with them. But when it came to the poorer students, the tone changed. Sharp instructions, no patience, and no smiles. At dinner, Emeka queued with the other juniors, holding his metal plate. He watched as a group of well-dressed seniors skipped the line entirely and were served first, their portions twice the size. Nobody complained. Lying in bed that night, Emeka stared at the ceiling fan spinning slowly. He thought about his father's words. "Don't let that make you feel small." But as laughter echoed from the corner where the rich boys were having a late-night snack, Emeka couldn't help feeling that here in the hostel, money was the real power. By the end of the first week, Emeka had seen enough to know one thing. At St. Luke's Secondary School, the rich were untouchable. It showed in the classrooms. If a rich boy came late, the teacher would smile and say, traffic must have delayed you. But if a poor student arrived even a minute late, the punishment was instant, kneeling in the sun or sweeping the entire class. It showed on the field. During football practice, the coach always picked the rich boys for the best positions, even if they couldn't play well. Poor students could score 10 goals in training and still be told to sit on the bench. It showed in the hostel. The prefects, who were meant to ensure discipline, were quick to punish the poor, sometimes over small mistakes. But when a rich boy broke the rules, the prefects would laugh it off or even join in. One evening, during prep time, Emeka sat quietly at his desk, writing an assignment. A group of wealthy boys walked in, laughing loudly, and began throwing biscuits around. The noise attracted the hostel master, Mr. Felix, who entered with a frown. "What's going on here?" he barked. Before Emeka could say anything, one of the rich boys, Kunle, grinned and said, sir, we were just having a small snack before studying." Mr. Felix's face softened instantly. Okay, but next time, keep it down." He left without a word about the noise. Jaidai, who sat beside Emeka, whispered, "You see? Kunle's father donated a whole set of computers to this school. That's why nobody touches him." That night, Emeka lay awake, his mind racing. The respect, the freedom, the attention. The rich boys had it all, and nobody dared to look down on them. One day, he thought to himself, I'll be like them. No more pity, no more shame. He didn't know it yet, but that silent vow would soon lead him down a dangerous path. It started one quiet Saturday afternoon in the hostel. Most students had gone for sports, but Emeka stayed behind, pretending to be asleep on his bunk. He overheard 3 senior boys gathered at the far corner, their voices low but excited. "Guy, I just cashed out again. One muumuu from America sent me $500 today. By Monday, I go flex." Emeka's ears sharpened. He knew $500 was more than his father's earnings in 6 months. Another boy laughed. "I told you, Yahoo know the way. Forget this read your book nonsense. See me, I don't even buy provisions from my parents anymore." They spoke about it as if it was the easiest thing in the world, chatting online, pretending to be someone else, and convincing people to send them money. They called it runs, but Emeka knew the real name, internet fraud. Later that evening, while Emeka was alone washing his clothes, one of the boys from earlier, a tall SS3 student named Tolu, approached him. "Emeka, Abi?" Tolu asked with a friendly smile. "Yes, senior," Emeka replied quickly, feeling nervous. "I see the way you dey quiet and hostile. That's good. I like you," Tolu said, glancing around before lowering his voice. "If you want to make money, real money, there's a way. No be hustling to go break your back. Just small brain work." Emeka's heart raced. He remembered his father's warning about bad friends, but another voice, louder and hungrier, whispered, "Do you want to remain poor forever?" "Senior, I don't understand," Emeka said cautiously. Tolu chuckled. "You will. Just come to the computer room tomorrow evening. I go show you something that will change your life." That night, Emeka couldn't sleep. He kept thinking of the rich boys who never begged for anything, who were treated like kings. For the first time, he began to seriously wonder if small brain work was worth the risk. The next evening, the hostel was buzzing with noise from boys returning from prep, but Emeka quietly slipped out, heading for the computer room as Tolu had instructed. The school's ICT lab was meant for academic purposes, but the seniors had their own key. Inside, the bright glare of the computer screens lit Tolu's face as he sat comfortably clicking away. 2 other boys were already there, each busy with their own laptop. "Welcome, my guy," Tolu said, motioning for Emeka to sit beside him. "Today you go see what they don't teach in any textbook." On the screen, Emeka saw a Facebook profile, not of Tolu's, but of a middle-aged white man. The photos looked real, the profile convincing. "This is called packaging," Tolu explained. "We pick a story, act like we are this person, and look for someone to believe us. Then we make them send us money." Emeka watched as Tolu chatted with a woman overseas, pretending to be a widowed businessman in need of urgent help to clear his goods at the port. The woman seemed concerned and promised to see what she could do. "Your turn." Tolu pushed a different laptop toward him. "Just follow my lead." Emeka hesitated, his father's voice ringing in his head. "Focus on your books." But another voice, louder and hungrier, whispered, "Do you want to remain poor forever?" An hour later, Emeka had sent dozens of friendly messages to strangers abroad, copying Tolu's style. At first, nothing happened, but the next morning when he returned from class, Tolu pulled him aside, grinning. "Congrats, my boy. One mumu done fall. She sent $200 this morning. We'll split it. You get $80 for your first try." Emeka's eyes widened. $80. In Naira, that was more than 60,000 Naira. His entire body tingled with excitement. That weekend, he bought himself a brand new pair of sneakers from a shop near the school gate. For the first time, he walked into the hostel dining hall and felt heads turn. It was the beginning of a new Emeka. Within weeks, Emeka's life in the hostel changed completely. The boy who once kept to himself, hiding his faded clothes and small provisions, now strutted through the compound in designer sneakers, a shiny wristwatch, and a brand new Android phone. At the canteen, he no longer queued for the regular meals. Instead, he bought fried rice, chicken, and chilled drinks from the VIP section, paying in cash without blinking. Even the prefects who once barked orders at him began greeting him respectfully. In class, teachers suddenly became friendlier. Mr. Felix, the hostel master who used to scold him for looking dull, now joked with him and sometimes gave him small favors, like skipping inspection or borrowing school facilities. The other boys noticed too. "Emeka, abeg, show me the way," one junior whispered one afternoon. He only smiled and replied, "Patience, my guy. It's not for everybody." His spending grew bolder. He ordered expensive sneakers from Lagos, bought the latest phone accessories, and even started giving small loans to classmates who needed pocket money, at a price. But with the attention came rumors. Some whispered that his parents had suddenly become rich. Others claimed a rich uncle was sponsoring him. The truth was only known to a select few, Tolu and the seniors who had introduced him to Yahoo. Deep inside, Emeka felt powerful. He was no longer the boy who sat quietly in the corner. In the eyes of the school, he was now Odogwu, the big man. And yet, somewhere at the back of his mind, his father's voice still echoed, "Remember where you are coming from." But Emeka had already believed he had left that poor boy behind forever. It was a Wednesday morning when the principal, Mr. Okoro, called Emeka to his office. The secretary's message was short and sharp. "The principal wants to see you now." Emeka walked in, trying to look calm. Mr. Okoro sat behind his wide mahogany desk, glasses low on his nose, staring at a file in front of him. "Emeka," he began slowly, "you've been in this school for barely a term, yet your lifestyle has changed dramatically. New clothes, new phone, expensive meals. What exactly is going on?" Emeka forced a small laugh. "Sir, my parents send me money, and sometimes my mom's customers give me tips. I also have some rich friends who help me." Mr. Okoro leaned back, unconvinced. "Your parents send you this much? Are you sure?" "Yes, sir," Emeka replied, keeping his face straight. "You can even ask them." The principal scribbled something in his notes and dismissed him. But as Emeka left, his heart thumped. He knew if the school ever contacted his parents directly, the lie would fall apart. 2 weeks later, during visiting day, his mother arrived. She took one look at his flashy sneakers and the gold-plated watch on his wrist and frowned. "Emeka, where did you get all these things? This is not the kind of money we send you." He smiled casually. "Mommy, don't worry. My rich friends are the ones helping me. They like me." She stared at him for a moment, clearly unconvinced, but said nothing. As she handed him his provisions, her eyes lingered on the brand-new phone in his pocket. When she left that afternoon, her mind was heavy with suspicion. Emeka, however, felt untouchable. He had fooled the principal, calmed his mother's doubts, and maintained his new image. Mama Emeka had always been the type to notice small changes in her son. From the way he talked to the way he carried himself, nothing escaped her eyes. One Saturday morning, Emeka came home from school wearing a new wristwatch. It was gold-colored, flashy, and clearly expensive. "Emeka," she said slowly, looking at him, "where did you get this watch?" "Oh, a friend gave it to me, Mama. He just wanted to appreciate me," Emeka replied casually, avoiding her gaze. Mama Emeka's eyes narrowed. A friend? Since when did Emeka have friends that gave him gifts worth more than her monthly market sales? She didn't press further, but her mind was unsettled. Over the next few days, she began noticing more changes. New clothes, perfumes, and a phone she knew she hadn't bought for him. One evening, she sat on her bed and thought deeply. Something is not right. This boy is spending too much money for a student. Where is it coming from? But Mama Emeka decided to stay quiet, for now. She didn't want to accuse him wrongly. Still, the worry in her heart refused to leave. Little did she know, her silence was giving Emeka more room to go deeper into whatever he had gotten himself involved in. By the time Emeka returned to the hostel after the midterm break, his status in the school had completely changed. The once quiet SS1 boy was now the center of attention. He wore designer sneakers that squeaked with each step, carried the latest smartphone, and always had crisp Naira notes tucked into his wallet. In the dining hall, juniors rushed to serve him food without him asking. On the football field, even the senior players called him boss. Teachers noticed too, though some just assumed his parents had suddenly become wealthy. It wasn't long before Emeka's influence spread across the hostel. He started hosting late-night feast sessions in his corner, with soft drinks, meat pies, and suya appearing like magic. The boys loved him. "You be king for this school now, Emeka," his friend Toby said one evening, grinning from ear to ear. Emeka smiled, but said nothing. Deep inside, he felt untouchable. With the money flowing, rules no longer mattered to him. But what nobody knew was that his sudden wealth had a source that was about to demand more from him than he ever imagined. Emeka sat in the corner of the hostel common room, typing quickly on his laptop. He had been chatting for weeks with a wealthy foreign woman he met through a dating app. She believed he was a young Nigerian businessman investing in real estate. This time, Emeka decided to go big. He told her about a rare property deal and convinced her to send him a huge sum of money to secure it before another buyer took it. When the money finally hit his account, he couldn't hide his excitement. He bragged to his friends about the amount, calling it the easiest cash ever made. But far away, the woman was in shock. After sending the money, she tried calling Emeka, but his number was suddenly switched off. She searched his name and found nothing real. No company, no business records. Realizing she had been cheated, her anger burned hot. She vowed to find the person who had tricked her. She contacted international fraud investigators who quickly traced the transaction to Nigeria. Emeka had no idea that his biggest scam had just attracted the most dangerous attention yet. 2 weeks after the scam, Emeka woke up to a strange buzz in the hostel. Students were whispering and pointing at their phones. Some even stared at him in shock. "Guy, have you checked Facebook today?" one of his roommates asked, his voice low. Emeka shrugged, but when the phone was handed to him, his stomach tightened. There it was, his face on a government cybercrime alert. The headline read, "Wanted for fraud. Report any information to the authorities." Worse still, the same poster was printed and pasted all over the campus notice boards. Even the hostel entrance had one. By evening, the story had spread across the school like wildfire. People whispered behind his back in the cafeteria, some shaking their heads, others laughing. His so-called rich friends, the ones who had once cheered him on, suddenly became distant. They stopped answering his calls, avoided his table, and acted like they had never known him. Emeka could feel the walls closing in. By the next morning, Emeka knew he couldn't stay in the hostel any longer. The stares, the whispers, and the constant footsteps outside his room made his heart race. That night, while everyone slept, he quietly stuffed some clothes into a backpack. He avoided the main entrance and slipped through the back fence near the school garden. For 2 days, he hid in an abandoned classroom behind the old science block. The place was dusty and filled with broken chairs, but it was better than being seen. Whenever hunger struck, he waited until midnight to sneak into the cafeteria store, grabbing snacks and bottled water before disappearing again. But the search for him was growing more intense. Security guards had joined the police, moving from hostel to hostel and classroom to classroom. Teachers were told to report any sightings. One afternoon, while peeking through a cracked window, Emeka saw the principal walking with 2 uniformed policemen, holding a copy of his wanted poster. His chest tightened. They were getting closer. It was evening prep time. Students were in their classrooms, reading quietly. Emeka thought it was the perfect time to sneak to the hostel and grab more clothes before changing his hiding spot. He tiptoed along the narrow path behind the library, his head bent low. But just as he reached the corner of the hostel, loud voices erupted. "Freeze! Don't move!" Before he could run, 2 policemen appeared from behind the wall, blocking his path. Another officer came from the other side, holding handcuffs. "Emeka Okafor?" one of them asked sternly. Emeka's mouth dried. I can explain." "Save it for the station," the officer cut in. By now, curious students had left their seats, peering from windows, and even stepping outside. Whispers filled the air. "That's him!" someone shouted. "The Yahoo boy!" Emeka felt hundreds of eyes on him as the officers cuffed his wrists. His legs shook as they led him past the crowd. He could hear giggles, gasps, and even the click of phone cameras capturing his shame. "Please, let me call my parents," he begged, tears stinging his eyes. But the policeman didn't answer. That night, the news spread across campus. Emeka had been caught. When the news reached Emeka's home, it was like a heavy stone had been dropped into his family's heart. His mother was in the kitchen when a neighbor rushed in holding her phone. "Mama Emeka, is it true? They said police arrested your son for Yahoo. At first she thought it was just gossip, but when she called his phone and a strange voice answered saying, "This is the police, madame," her knees buckled. By evening, she and Emeka's father were at the station. They found him sitting on a wooden bench, his head down, looking nothing like the confident boy they had raised. His mother's eyes were already wet. "Emeka, why? Why did you do this to us?" He mumbled, "I just wanted to help, to be the king of the school," unable to meet her gaze. His father's voice was firm but broken. "You have brought shame to our family. People we've respected for years now whisper behind our backs." The officer explained the charges and the risk of a long sentence if found guilty. Every word felt like a knife to his parents' hearts. They left the station that night, heavy with sorrow, wondering where they had gone wrong. Emeka watched them leave, a deep ache growing in his chest. For the first time, he realized his actions had not only caught him in trouble, but had shattered the two people who loved him the most. Emeka spent weeks in detention while his case was being prepared for court. The cell was small, hot, and always crowded. Gone were the fancy clothes, the respect in the hostel, and the title King of the School. Now he was just another suspect wearing a torn t-shirt and slippers. Those long nights, he had plenty of time to think. He remembered how it all started, wanting to look important, impress people, and live a flashy life. But the cost was more than he could bear. His parents visited whenever they could. Each time they came, his mother's eyes looked older and his father's voice was quieter. They didn't need to shout anymore. The disappointment in their faces said it all. When the trial ended, the judge gave him a reduced sentence because it was his first offense, but the damage was already done. The school expelled him, his friends avoided him, and his reputation was gone. Back home, after serving his time, he sat in the compound one evening and told a group of younger boys, "Don't let greed blind you. I thought I was smart, but I only ruined my life. It's better to work hard than to cut corners." The younger boys listened, and Emeka hoped they would learn from his mistakes. The price he paid was heavy, but if his story could stop someone else from going down the same road, maybe his pain would not be in vain. He had learned the lesson the hard way. Once respect is lost, it's never fully regained.